pretty much going to be from start to finish. Well, as close to finish as possible. And I'm trying to get y'all at a good enough angle to where you can see what I'm doing. So the first things first is you want to spray paint your tumbler. This is a 30-ounce blank hog, and I spray painted it with white primer, and it's got some grit to it, but that's okay because it's going to be covered in glitter, and we're going to smooth it out. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want a thin layer of epoxy. So for that, I do 10 milliliters of each part, and any extra that I have, I'll just mix with glitter and put into one of my molds. But I like making sure I have enough to cover the cup from top to bottom. So I always use more than needed. Almost always use more than needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this mixed up. Sorry for the angle, guys. I want y'all to see the cup. I'm also going to move this chair over. Maybe y'all can see my face while I do this. Let's see. Oh, a little bit better. Let's see. There we go. So I'll probably point it back down. Don't mind my mess in my garage. My garage is a nightmare right now due to storing things, and we're getting ready to donate a bunch of items to our local DAV chapter, and so everything's kind of piled in the middle. And this is actually where my crafting area is, so this is where everything goes. So the colors I'm using for this today, I'm not doing a red, white, and blue firework tumbler. I am actually doing a different firework tumbler. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the red, white, and blue for the firework, and then these 4 colors are going to go towards the other cup that I'm going to be creating today that I haven't ordered for. I'm all sorts of backwards. So, get this nice and stirred. For those of you who don't know, I use Famo wood epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy. And then I use medicinal syringes. They're very large syringes though. They go up to 60 ounces. So let me see if I can bring my old bottle over here. So this is my old bottle, part A. And this is the syringe that's in it. So I still have some left in here. Once my new bottle gets down far enough, I'm going to add that bottle into this bottle. That way I don't have any that I'm leaving behind. And once this is stirred, I'm just going to let it sit for a minute, get all these bubbles out of it. This light is driving me crazy. I can do it like this. It's better-ish. So get all these bubbles out. It's kind of warm in my garage today. It's not hot, which is perfect. Sometimes my garage can get too hot and then my epoxy doesn't act right. Sometimes it's too cool. So I have a little space heater in here if needed. Today it's actually not that bad. Usually I'm dripping sweat when I'm in here during the day. So it's not that bad. Most of the bubbles are out. So I'm just going to set my popsicle stick to the side because I'll probably need it. So what we're going to do is we're going to first make sure my tumbler's on here straight, and also grab a few sheets of paper for my glitter. Attach my glitter on. I'm all sorts of out of it today, guys. All sorts. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and get a nice thin layer of epoxy on my cup. Just a thin layer. You don't need anything too thick. You just want enough for the glitter to stick to. And I actually prefer this method of glitter application because it just makes it so much easier. I'm not a big fan of Mod Podge anymore. I used to be in Mod Podge fight. We're no longer on speaking terms. So this is my go-to now. And you'll notice my tumbler isn't perfectly white, and that's okay because we're going to be covering it with glitter, so it doesn't have to be perfectly white. And once I'm finished with this part, I'm going to record the next part for you guys, which actually the next part is getting a smooth layer of epoxy. So once I finish glittering this and it's where I want it to be, it's going to set for about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. And then I'm going to put another coat of epoxy on it to smooth it out. So, and that's to smooth all the glitter out for what's to come in the rest of this. So I'm hoping this isn't going to be a super long tutorial. I'm going to try and make it as quick and informative as possible. But the first step is to get your tumbler spray painted and let it dry over. I usually let mine dry overnight and then I work on them. So go ahead and smooth out the bottom. I'm not going to be putting any glitter on the bottom, but I like to have a nice smooth surface down there to match the rest of the tumbler. All right, so we've got that going. Got a nice smooth setup on there. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my glove now that I'm done messing with the epoxy. I do have a little bit of epoxy left, so I'm going to, what, Dylan? Close the door so the animals don't come in here. What's up, buddy? I love you too, buddy. Is that all you needed? Okay, I'll be in a little bit, okay? When I come back in. Okay? So all I'm doing right now is I'm mixing the rest of the leftover epoxy with glitter, and I'm pouring it into one of my silicone molds. I haven't made a hippo yet, so I'm gonna go and make a hippo because they're cute. And so, and my silicone molds, I use them for keychains. So and all of my silicone molds, all of my supplies, most of my supplies I get from Amazon. It's I have Prime, so I get the 2-day shipping. So my epoxy I got from Amazon. Most of my molds are from Amazon. None of my glitters are from Amazon. Most of them are from Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Yaya's, Back Fist, Customs, and places like that. So I have the epoxy into the little molds to make keychains with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my swirl. So I'm going to move this down a little bit so y'all can see it a little bit better. Move the light over a little bit better. And this lighting in here is horrible. I wish I had overhead lighting. So, and I'm using Hobby Lobby glitters and One Recollections glitter. So for the red, I'm doing Warm Red. For the blue, I'm doing Royal Blue. And then for the white, I'm using Glitz from Recollections. And I don't have much of it left, so I'm not going to use a whole bunch. So I want this to go the other way. I want it to come towards me. So now you're just going to, I'm going to put a piece of paper under there before I forget again. Put a piece of paper, or I put a piece of paper. You don't have to do this. This catches my glitter. And I'm going to do the swirl technique. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm just going to do a thin swirl line. And as it comes around, you'll see what I mean by the swirl technique. It just means I'm going in a diagonal line around the tumbler. And go over it again with more glitter. And since this is Hobby Lobby glitter, I'm not really worried if I lose a whole bunch of it. Whatever the paper catches, I'll put back into here, but so. side, grab another sheet of paper, and we're going to do the glitz next. So, like I said, I don't have a bunch of this left, so I want to preserve as much of this color as I can. And we're just going to go right beside the red. And add it in. And because it's an iridescent, it's not going to show up like the other two colors. It's not going to be as vibrant, but that's okay. And it's going to partially mix with the red, and that's okay too. Like you're not going to, you can see a little bit of the sparkle from it on the video, but it's more of just having it there. And whenever I put the next, I don't seal my, for my peekaboos, I don't seal my glitter before I put on the next layer of epoxy, because if the glitter moves, I want, you know, they're going to mesh together. And for this one particularly, with the way I do my peekaboo, you're going to see all the colors. And if the red is partially in the white, or the blue is partially in the white, or partially in the red, it's okay. So put that again. Hopefully I have enough white and final piece of paper, and I'm just gonna keep going around like this until it's completely covered in glitter. So now we're doing blue. It's a little bit chunkier than I wanted, but that's okay. So you see it coming into the white, which is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Now, my swirl technique is not perfected. If this was just a glitter swirl with nothing, you know, no peekaboo through it, I would not be doing this tutorial. This is not the main part of my tutorial. This is just how I did the underneath. So I like that blue where it's at. So now I'm going to put that back in. Set that over here, and I'm going to bring back my tape, my paper for my red epoxy on it. So grab a new piece of paper. Sorry guys, my phone is blowing up with messages. So now back to the red. I'll add a little bit of red over on this end. And my goal is to have equal amounts of each line. And like I said, this process, I am nowhere near perfect on it. So I'm not too worried about perfection because it's going to be a peekaboo. And now for the white, which came around perfectly. And let it come right back around again, add more to it because I need to be able to get enough for one more of each color on there. And it looks like I need blue, and then I need red, another strip of red, white, and blue. So make it a little thicker. And you're going to see the red underneath the white. And like that was way too thick. It's okay. Okay. Once that's done coming off of the tumbler, we're going to put it in there. And then the blue. And I'm going to cover that thick line of white that I made at the top that I didn't mean to make. So as it's coming around, I'm gonna add glitter anywhere that I see needs glitter with the blue. And then on my final line, I'm gonna do the same all the way around the cup with each color. I'm gonna make sure I cover what I want covered on here. So there we go. Okay. Now, if you're watching this for this method, I highly suggest finding Heather from Feather Bear to do this for you, to show you how to do a swirl, because she is so much better at it than I am. Like I said, I'm just doing this as a base for my peekaboo. It is not meant to be seen other than on my peekaboo or through the peekaboo. So, and like I said, I'm going to go around and make sure every place has glitter that I want. Ooh, I missed my line again. That's right. It'll come back around again. Ooh. And these lines are actually thinner than my original red, white, and blue peekaboo. And that's okay. These turn out, that's the beauty of these tumblers, is they are handcrafted. So each one that you create is truly one of a kind. There is no duplicating. You know, you can't make exact duplicates of anything. If you were, you'd be a machine. If you could, you'd be a machine. So now, final line of red, we're just going to go through, make sure everything is covered that I want covered. It is. So I'm going to let that fall off onto the paper, any extra glitter, and then I'm going to go to my whites. I'm all done with my red. And these aren't going to be perfect lines. That's okay. I don't want them to be perfect. This tumbler is not going to be perfect in any way, shape, or form, like at all. And now final line of blue, because all my white looks pretty decently placed. And once I'm done, I will give you guys an up close look of what it looks like from my perspective. And I do have some red and blue mixed into my glitz. It's okay. It's not going to be totally apparent because once this is set, what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to put another layer of epoxy, and I'm going to make it as smooth as possible. So it's going to be a thick layer of epoxy. And it was a lot thicker than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. As smooth as possible, because once the next layer of epoxy sets, I'm going to put decals. I'm going to cut random decals, fireworks. On my next one, I want to have something, I want to put a saying on it, land of the free, something like that on it. So I'm going to be placing vinyls. So you want it to be as smooth as possible, because granted, your vinyls are going to get peeled, but the smoother your cup is, the easier it will be. So now I'm just making sure all of my blue, I'm making sure that my cup is covered everywhere. So it looks good to me. So, and what would be even cute with these is doing like a candy cane with red, white, and then doing peekaboos for Christmas cups. So something like that. Just the thought. So all of my blue has go ahead and put all my glitter back in my tube, and I'm going to show you guys a better view of it. So sorry guys. So I don't know if y'all can see it better or not, but that's from my view. So that's pretty much it for this part of this tutorial. So like I said, next I'm gonna let it sit for about 6 to 8 hours until it's set. Once it's set, I'm going to put a thick layer of epoxy on it. Probably, see here, my thin layer I did 20, but I had some left over, so I'd probably do a 30 milliliters total. That's 15 of each part, layer on top of the glitter, and that's to get it as smooth as possible. Once it's smooth, we'll move on to, I'll be back for the next step. So I'll be back. Stay tuned, guys. Guys, so continuing on with my tutorial, I have a second coat and it's most of the way smooth. So now I have my decals cut and ready to place on the cup. So that's pretty much what this tutorial is going to be. And I just randomly place. I have a plan, but for the most part, my decals are. Sorry about the TV. Like I said, and I use 631 for my decals. Makes it easier to peel up. So, like I said, I'm just placing and seeing. I'll show you how to make steak and mashed potatoes. And whenever I go do these decals, I work from the center and then work my way down. And then I peel up and I finish working my way. Kind of wonky right there. That's all placed. And now I'm just going to randomly put my fireworks and my rockets on here. On my other rocket. And I have extra fireworks cut out just in case I need some more. I'm not trying to make this like super even with the rest of the cup or with the rest, you know, because and now I'm going to randomly place these fireworks. Sweetie, can you bring me my scraping tool, please? For some reason, my fireworks are not wanting to stick to my tape. Yep. Randomly place on the cup. Work from the center out. And stars is empty, so flatten it and stick it with a transfer tape. That one piece didn't want to stick to the transfer tape, and now it doesn't want to come off the transfer tape.
In the simplicity of this challenge, you have three of the most difficult MasterChef problems: roll line in the sauce, undercooked potatoes, and temperature on meat. The pressure is immense. There's only one person staying, so the pressure is really on. My heart is pounding.
Okay, that piece just does not stay. Not those two pieces today. Okay, so it's not perfect, but this does not have to be perfect. So in the center, I have this one. So I'll go ahead and scrape it again. Not scraping. And now I'm going to put this one at the bottom in between the rocks. Just like that. There we go. So one more firework to place. I don't know what's going on with my decals today, but they're not wanting to come off very nicely. Rub it on nice and low so that way it'll stay put. And then slowly peel up at 45 degrees. There we go. So I have all of my decals placed. And up next, I'm going to take it outside. Hold on. And I'm going to spray paint with this Black Color Master Paint and Primer. And I'm going to do 2 coats because I want it all over. I'm going to do the bottom because I don't do glitter the bottom. I'm doing the bottom, cover all of this vinyl with the flat black, and I'm going to do 2 coats. So I'm going to let it dry for about 30 minutes, do a second coat, dry for about 45 minutes, and then I will be back to peel the decals. So see you soon. Alright guys, so I'm back and spray tumbler is dry. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to peel all those decals that I placed. So I'm just going to take my weeding tool and I'm going to go in at an angle so I don't get the epoxy underneath it, and I'm just going to lightly peel up as much as I can and then take the decals. And I'm going to do that for every single one of these. Quite a lengthy process, so I will point the camera down to show y'all what I'm doing. You see these drips, and I'm going to clean those off once I get all of these decals peeled up. And clean off all of the drip marks. You'll see it's starting to come into the other color now. And I just work my way around the cup, pulling up the decals as I go. These smaller pieces, you gotta be very careful with how you get them up because it can pull your paint up. You can see I'm sorry for the bad angle, guys. Here, let me see if I can. Oh, my stand is not playing very nicely right now. Once I finish with this one, I will probably go ahead and finish the rest and show a picture of it completed, and then we will move on to the next step. So I'm going to finish this firework up. That way y'all don't have to sit here and watch every single piece of vinyl get peeled, because it is quite a lengthy process. So I mean, you can get a basic premise of what it's going to look like once all of it. Now with letters and stuff that are connected, what I do is I grab and I do pieces. So obviously the O did not come off of that, so that's okay. So you can see the O. So the L for land. Like I said, I just go around the entire tumbler. And going in at an angle. So that's pretty much how I do this part. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Then I will be back for the next step of the process. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, so final step for, well, hopefully what's to be this final step. Sometimes it needs more, but that's okay. What I hope to be the final step of this cup is this epoxy layer. Last time I needed a second layer of epoxy. If this one does, that's okay. So I'm just gonna make sure that this is even on here. All of the vinyl has been peeled, as you can see, as it turns. And now I'm just going to mix my epoxy. For this cup alone, I'm going to mix a total of 25. So that's 12.5 of each part. And that's so I know that I get good coverage. Okay. And once I'm done mixing the epoxy, I let it sit, and then I'm going to sprinkle a pinch of silver glitter into the cup. And that's just so, let's see if I can sit down. Grab my silver glitter. Silver glitter. And the silver glitter gives a sparkle effect to the flat black. So that way it's not just flat black. And also that way if you have any lumps or bumps or like these run lines that you see that were not cleaning up very nice for me, the silver in the epoxy will kind of help hide those discrepancies quite a bit. So right now I'm just mixing up my epoxy. As I said before, I use the Famo wood. So I have these tiny little Dixie cups. My garage is probably about 80 degrees, give or take. I don't have a thermostat in here. But during the day it gets way too hot in here, and my epoxy has been separating if it's too hot in my garage. So I actually now only epoxy first thing in the morning or at night. After the sun goes down and my garage has cooled off. So like I said, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. I have 3 tumblers total that I'm gonna be epoxying. I have a dirty pour over here, and I have a wood grain over there, but this is the main focus of this tutorial. So I'm really excited with how this came out. I wish I had put in a vinyl in this blank spot right here, because it looks kind of dull all by itself, but that's okay. You know, the great things about these is you learn with each cup. So I have it saying land of the free. I have my fireworks. I have my rockets. That's all I really need. So I don't want it to be too busy. So now I'm going to take my silver glitter, and I'm literally only going to put in a tiny bit, a small sprinkle of it. Very tiny amount, and you'll see it whenever I put it on the cup, just how little bit. It's literally maybe a pinch of glitter. So I'm going to stir that in real good. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my popsicle stick and set it off to the side. And now I'm going to start the process. So I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom first. And you can see the silver in the epoxy, and it's not too much to where it overtakes the rest of the cup. It's just enough. That black, nice little sparkle. And once I'm done with the bottom, do the bottom. That way it matches the rest of the tumbler. And now I'm going to go to the top. And I work from the middle up, that way I don't sling epoxy. And this is just a thin layer, and then once I get it all good and covered, that's whenever I will start using more epoxy on it and get it. This I call this my flood layer, in hopes that I don't need a second layer of epoxy. So I kind of just drizzle it and then work it around the tumbler. And I grab any bare spots that I've seen and slinging glitter or epoxy around. So like I have some bare spots up at the top. So I'm just gonna work it around. Make sure it gets nice, even coverage all around. And the beautiful thing about a flood coat is epoxy is self-leveling. So even if you put too much on, it'll either A, drip off, or B, or it will level itself out on the rest of the tumbler. So I want to use all of this glitter. I don't want any silver glitter on any of my other tumblers. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get all of this on here, and I'm gonna pay special attention to this corner down here, because whenever you do a full glitter tumbler, you have that rough patch around the edge. So I just want to make sure that my epoxy is nice and thick down there. So I just put a little extra down there, and then I drizzle the what remains in the cup onto the tumbler itself. And that is pretty much it for this tumbler. I won't know until morning if it needs another layer of epoxy, but like I said, I do the flood coat to try and limit how many layers will be needed. But I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can flip this camera. I can, and give y'all a bird's eye view. I can't do my flash, but maybe, there we go. So there it is, guys. There's a lot of silver up here. As it works, as it turns, it should look a lot better. But this is my Peekaboo Firework tumbler, and this has been the entire process for it. Like I said, if it needs another layer of epoxy, I'll find out in the morning. But that's a super simple layer of epoxy. No silver glitter in the final layer if it needs it. If it doesn't, then it will be done and ready. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Reach out to me on Facebook. You can find me at Norma Jenkins, or on my business page at Enchanting Creations Boutique. As always, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. If y'all have any suggestions or want to see a different technique, comment below and let me know what you're looking for, and maybe I can get it up on this channel soon. So I hope you guys have a fantastic time, a fantastic week, and I will see you guys later.